I think I can sum up the show for you with one word. Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
What does that mean?
It wasn't until episode 3 of season 4 that Seinfeld gave itself that famous description as a show about nothing. Not until this episode called The Pitch, which mock documents Jerry and Larry David's first meeting with NBC executives.
Nothing happens on the show. It's just like life.
In interviews since then, like this Reddit AMA from 2014, the creators admit that the moniker was only really a joke and that they were actually surprised by how much it caught on with audiences. And yet, I think the nothing in question is a good lens to examine this show through, to explore what makes it different from other sitcoms and so popular still today. Now, when you think of Seinfeld, the first thing that pops into your head probably isn't 19th century French novelist Gustave Flaubert. But there's a connection here that I think is worth exploring a little bit. See, Flaubert was a pioneer of literary realism, in large part responsible for raising the status of the novel to that of a high art. So intense was his dedication to craft that in a letter to Louise Collet in January 1852, he wrote, "What seems beautiful to me, what I should like to write, is a book about nothing. A book dependent on nothing external, held together by the internal strength of its style." Now, of course, a novel like Madame Bovary isn't literally about nothing. The book explores themes of freedom, love, and human stupidity, and explores them deeply. The difference is that Flaubert, instead of getting at these themes through subject and plot like his predecessors, treats them with style. He doesn't just want to string you along with multiple suspense-heightening narrative developments. He wants to bring you into the text itself, to look there for the carefully constructed meanings that he's built for you. So when Flaubert says he wants to write a book about nothing, what he really means is nothing like the established forms and genres against which he situated himself. Indeed, in any art form, the positive value of a work in question has to be determined against or in negative relation to the other kinds of work already present in the form. By the 1950s, a number of conventions for the television sitcom had already been established. Family had become the dominant setting for the situation comedy. These sitcoms feature predominantly white middle-class families, sometimes with kids, sometimes without, dealing comedically with a problem of the week before resolving the issue and coming together into a kind of unity so that they could do the same thing again next week.
Well, what are we waiting for? We're all going to dance, ain't we? We sure are. Come on, sugar baby.
By the time of the Mary Tyler Moore Show in the 1970s, the nuclear family had been partly supplanted by the work family, but the sentimental unity of the group was an even stronger value.
Thank you for being my family.
With Cheers in the 80s, the sitcom began to break from its, by then, staid conventions. There was less sentimentality, less lesson learning, and the transition from family as family or family as coworkers to family as friends. And yet still, there was a drive toward unity, namely, in Cheers, the romantic unity between Sam and Diane, which gave the show a familiar, dramatic weight.
Okay, I got it. You run an antique store.
Yeah,
And people come into the store and you get involved in their lives.
What person who runs an antique store gets involved in people's lives?
Why not?
So someone comes in to buy an old lamp, and suddenly I'm getting them out of a jam.
It wasn't until Seinfeld that the conventions of the sitcom were deconstructed fully, when all forms of unity, familial and especially romantic, were wholeheartedly abandoned. For Seinfeld, these additional elements were just so much fluff.
No, forget the story.
You gotta have a story.
Who says you gotta have a story?
Like Flaubert's novel, Seinfeld forgoes the traditional subject matter of the sitcom, its didactic sentimentality centered around a family of one kind or another, in favor of stories held together by the internal strength of its comedy. Now, this isn't to say that Seinfeld doesn't have plots. Indeed, Seinfeld plots are among the most sophisticated of the genre, but the plot drivers are different from its predecessors. Instead of goal-oriented principal characters achieving their ends based on actions that they take, Seinfeld frequently has its characters make some small action on a whim at the start of an episode.
A certain cast member of Melrose Place.
Really?
Have you ever seen the show?
No.
Then spend the rest of the half hour dealing with the unintended consequences of that action.
Did Kimberly steal Joe's baby?
And if they do set out to achieve a goal, even if they get it,
I turned him!
they often fail in the end because of circumstances beyond their control.
How can I be expected to have the same expertise as people who own this equipment?
In Seinfeld's more complicated narrative, small events from one character's life can determine outcomes in another. Any action that any character takes has unexpected consequences, so that coincidence, merely a device in traditional goal-oriented sitcoms, becomes the rule on Seinfeld.
That's the guy, officer! Me?
Larry David's famous no hugs, no learning policy for Seinfeld is in keeping with a show based on refusals. Refusal to entertain sentimental endings, real romance of any kind, or the redemptive power of the family. And in doing so, David and Seinfeld rejected the silently agreed upon moral standards that guided every other sitcom to its weekly resolutions. Again, like Madame Bovary, Seinfeld isn't literally about nothing. But instead of reinforcing larger moral standards, it explored insanely minute social norms.
Do women know about shrinkage?
What do you mean, like laundry?
And interestingly, hilariously, it turns out that while the morals of past decades have shifted and changed under our feet, these petty behavioral questions about nothing all that important prove to be more timeless and timelessly funny than just about everything else.
See, this should be the show. This is the show.
What?
This. Just talk.
Yeah, right.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Obviously, I'm a huge Seinfeld fan, so getting to watch a lot of Seinfeld episodes to make this video was a blast. Also getting to read a lot of Flaubert, because I'm a huge Flaubert fan as well, and I like to say the word Flaubert. I want to thank you guys so much because after a couple weeks ago of my video on Harry Potter, I mentioned how important small pledges on my Patreon were because of the length of time is more important than the amount. And that is because it helps me plan on this channel what I'm going to do next, what's coming. And after that video, a lot of you guys pledged $1 or $3. And you're awesome for that. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We just crossed 250,000 subscribers on this channel, which is 250,000, and that's a number that I can't really conceive. So I am grateful, and that's the feeling that I'm going to keep putting out into the world. So thank you so much for that. If you want to pledge to my channel, you can go right here and click there. And I will see you guys next Wednesday for another video. This is so much fun.